What's going on, guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Zero Status. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about Harley Davidson a little bit and Indian motorcycles. Just kind of my 2 cents on kind of what's going on with those two brands, with what little that I know about, just what I've seen on social media and a little bit in the news. But I'm gonna grab a beer and we'll go from there. Figured since I was talking about some kind of American motorcycle companies, I was going to drink me a trailer trash beer. So thanks, Busch. Normally would be Busch Light, but I grabbed these in the grocery store the other day while not paying attention. Go figure. I gotta have a sip first. All right, so kind of my 2 cents. And for the 700 some subscribers I have, I know that this isn't gonna like do anything crazy and there's not gonna be a million people to watch this, but my 2 cents on kind of what's going on with Harley Davidson. I gotta be honest, like, I don't agree with a lot of what the company's doing right now. A lot of people forget that I didn't have, like a lot of people growing up like me, Harley Davidson motorcycles were what you longed for, what you wanted for, what you hoped for, what you dreamed for. That was like, man, when I grew up, I'm getting a Harley. I never thought, man, when I grew up, I'm getting a Honda. Really want that new Suzuki. That just wasn't the generation that I grew up in. That wasn't the culture that I was around. My big thing was like, I love the sound. I love watching all the big biker gangs or all the clubs or all the hog chapters, whatever type of ride was going on. I love seeing and hearing the bikes go past me. I have vivid memories of being in Myrtle Beach for my sister's dance competitions and being on the balcony and just seeing hundreds of bikes ride past and just the noise they made. And back then, most of those bikes would have been probably Evo engines. Twin cam hadn't even come out yet when I was that little. But that's what I wanted. That was the end game. Harley Davidson was it. That was the American brand, even more so than Indian, both American motorcycle companies. But Harley just seemed to have figured out how to sustain throughout the years, with the exception of the 80s and AMF. We won't get into that. So when I was, like I said, when I got to the point where I could get a motorcycle and I wanted a motorcycle, I couldn't afford a Harley Davidson. I bought what I thought looked like a Harley Davidson. I got it from a friend of mine. It was a Suzuki Intruder. And where I didn't love the motorcycle, I loved riding and I loved learning how to ride. And I love a little bit of the stupidity of me just going, I can ride a bike. No one has to teach me how to do this. Wrong, totally wrong. I had to teach myself how to ride, how to shift, how to do everything. I knew nothing about motorcycles. Then when the big chopper craze came around and everyone was watching Jesse James and Billy Lane and Indian Larry and all those different type of builders back in the day got really famous, I went to Motorcycle Mechanic Institute to be a Harley Davidson mechanic. I would have been there in 04, 05, I believe, 03, 04, somewhere in there. I know that the 2003 anniversary bikes were super big and they were still in dealerships. And it was crazy to get a anniversary motorcycle. But I went to MMI and I went through the V-Rod program. I went to the Buell program and the late model stuff. Basically was the Evo twin cam at the time was a new engine, and the M8 wasn't even thought about yet. This is like 20 years ago almost at this point. It is 20 years ago. And I just remember seeing all the motorcycles there and I wanted another Harley, or I wanted a Harley, and that's all I longed for. And then I worked at a couple different places, some aftermarket shops. I worked at a chopper company. I got into sales and was working at Earl Smalls Harley Davidson, which is one of the older Harley dealerships in the area. Earl then sold it to a guy named Mark Holsey. I think Mark Holsey's family is running it since he's passed. But they did some great things over the years. They've done some not great things over the years. And for me, when I think of Harley Davidson, I think of blue collar, military men and women And just the average American, most of these guys are saving up for years to put money down, to take a loan out to buy a Harley Davidson. That was their freedom. That was their thing that they were grabbing a hold of. Their dream was to own a Harley Davidson. And I remember working there, and guys would come in weekly and drool over a Fat Boy or drool over a Heritage and tell you, man, in 2 more years, I'll have enough money to put money down on one. In 3 more years, we're going to pull the trigger and we're going to finally get one because my car's paid for, the house is paid for. But these were not doctors and lawyers for the most part. No, we did have doctors and lawyers and attorneys that just came in and write a check and we're done. That's not the majority of people buying a Harley Davidson. Most of those people, like right now, my bike needs an oil change service. I need the all 3 hole service done, and I don't have the time to really do it. I don't have a lift in my garage to do my oil change, my primary, and my transmission. I don't have a lift. I don't have a wheel chuck so I can stand the bike up straight to drain everything. So I got to save up money and take my bike into the dealership. A lot of people think I'm nuts that I would take my bike to a dealership I've done, but it's about $350 to have that service done. I'm blue collar. I don't have a lot of money. I can't just go, all right, take it and drop it off, swipe a credit card. No. I think Harley's forgotten who rides their motorcycles. The women that are coming into the scene over the last 20 years to ride motorcycles has grown like crazy. And I think what a lot of people think about when they think about Harley Davidson is just trailer trash, redneck, white dudes that want to cause a ruckus and are breaking the law, and they think of all the gangs that are affiliated with motorcycles, Harleys and Indians. But I've never been into a Harley dealership and didn't feel welcome. I may have gone into a dealership and found sales guys I didn't like, but you're going to find that anywhere. I never went into a place and didn't feel welcome. I never made anybody feel unwelcome when they came into a dealership that I worked at. When I worked at Atlanta Harley Davidson, or Harley Davidson of Atlanta, they've since changed ownerships there as well. I think Earl Smalls is now Hellbender Harley Davidson. But my goal, I didn't care what your background was, what your sexual preferences were. You were a person coming in to look at a Harley Davidson. Awesome. What can I teach you? What can I tell you? What can I do? How can I help you get in or on a motorcycle to leave this dealership today and realize your dream? Realize that you're grabbing the American dream. And I think with the current leadership at Harley Davidson, they've forgotten about that. They've forgotten the people that are keeping the company open and alive, and the people that are buying these bikes are really from 30 to about 60. Mostly middle-aged guys, men and women really for the most part. A lot of them in the military. I venture to say most of the people I know that rode were in the military or have a military family, which is how they got into it. And they've lost sight of that. Now, do I think Harley has done some cool things in the last couple of years? Yeah. I think the Pan America is a super rad bike. I think the engine could be good if they could sort the bugs out. They seem to be either really problematic or have zero issues. There is no in between. The Sportster S, super rad motorcycle. I love the little digital cluster that comes on those bikes with all the built-in infotainment system basically you have in a 4-inch little dial. Indian has one on theirs and it's super cool. Why isn't that gauge on more bikes? Why is it just on the Sportster and kind of the little square, which is totally different? It's square on the Pan America. But I think those are cool bikes, and I think they grab a different demographic than what's normally, part of Harley Davidson. What happened to the Bronx? That would have brought in another demographic of people that Harley wouldn't have had. They were Buell customers, sport bike customers that wanted a V-twin. That's the kind of people that it would be reaching. But I think they're missing the point. I think you got too many suits in an office making decisions on the behalf of people that make hourly wages, that work really hard, blue collar, laying asphalt, pouring driveways, framing houses, plumbing. He's like, they're blue collar guys. I don't know a lot of guys that ride that have a suit that they wear to work Monday through Friday. I work in a warehouse that doesn't have heat and air. It's a rad job. We provide light, sound, and staging for concerts and all kinds of events. I love it. It's a lot of work, but I'm an hourly employee that has to work hard or work extra hours to pay for the things on my motorcycle. Like saving up for an oil change, saving up for a new seat, saving up for new handlebars, whatever you want to buy from Harley Davidson or the aftermarket that Harley Davidson has behind them. And I say all that to say that, do I think that the current CEO and head of president of board probably should be told to leave? Yeah, I think so. I've got a buddy named Tim who eats, sleeps, and breathes Harley Davidsons. He worked for him for years and left recently. And I think it was a good move for him, for his family. He's got a newborn, which is beautiful, and he is in love, and his wife is lovely. But he still eats, sleeps, and breathes Harley Davidsons. He's got a dozen of them in his garage that I don't know what he would do without them. I think Harley has lost sight. There is a vision, but it's in the wrong direction. They're looking off the side of the boat, and the trajectory was already this way in a great direction. He just had to figure out how to turn a degree or two in the right direction. I don't understand it. And again, I'm not in a C-suite. I'm not some chief executive. I'm just a blue collar dude who thinks I know what people want when it comes to these bikes, which I think is what Indian is doing so well. When Indian came back a couple years ago, they had some really rad bikes, new engines. I think all their stuff is water cooled now. They don't have really anything that I'm aware of that is just air cooled like Harley still has. Change is inevitable, but it's the way you go about the change into the next generation. Do I think the V-Rod was a cool motorcycle? Yeah. Do I think it was ahead of its time? Yeah. Same with Buell. It was the right niche at the wrong time. But Indian is building really rad motorcycles, and they're doubling down on America, on the American dream, on we are an American company, and freedom, and riding around the US. And I love that they bring in YouTubers, I know Harley does too, to kind of talk about the new bikes when they come out. Would that be amazing? I would love to do stuff like that. But Indian's doing some cool things with their Scout. There's a couple, and I'm still learning about Indian. I don't know a whole lot about them. They've got a baseline Scout, which is no frills, which is a little over $10,000 and with a 1250 engine, I believe. They've got a model that's above it, I think, called the Classic, which is, it looks a little bit more like an old classic Scout. They've got one called a Sport, one called a Bobber, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of a chopped down, lowered version. Most of them I've seen were blacked out with no chrome. The Classic's got a lot of chrome. And then they've got a new one called the 101. And I have compared it to the Lowrider S for Harley Davidson. Some people say that's wrong and it's more like the Sportster S because they're both 1250cc engines. But I think the Sportster S is in a different category because it's not a bike that I would cruise on. It's a bike I'd rip around town on, but I wouldn't go on the highway and cruise on it. I think the Scout is like the Softail line. You've got different models as you kind of jump up, but the difference in price between the 101, which is just coming out or just come out or is about to come out, and the Lowrider S is $5,000. And that's assuming that you choose a black Harley Davidson, which there's no extra money if you get a black one. It's $600 or $700 more if you choose a red one. They charge you for the paint. Whereas there's only two options for the 101. You get it in white or this maroon color, they're two-tone. but it comes with inverted forks like the Lowrider S. It comes with a piggybacked rear, double rear shock, different than the Softail because the Softail's got the solo shock hidden under the seat. And it comes so it's very modular. All the chassis are the same, very similar to Harley Davidson, a couple different parts, and you got a new bike. All of the parts from all the Scouts now fit each other. And they're not a gazillion dollars. Like I said, I think the Scout starts at about $10 or $12,000, somewhere in there. And each model kind of jumps up to you get to about $15,000. And the $15,000 bike is super rad. I mean, it comes with a digital gauge that I think they call Ride Command, which has navigation built into it. It controls your Bluetooth for your music. You've got, if you want to add cruise control, which I believe the 101 comes with cruise control, if you want to add it, it's already in the bike. You just have to add a switch. It's already wired in. You're not pulling the handlebars off and running new wires like a Harley Davidson so they can upsell you $350 for this new switch that you got to add. It's so much cheaper to do everything. I mean, they've got I think it's a 10-inch riser that you can put on these bikes. It's $179. Anybody who sells a 10-inch riser for a Harley Davidson, you're looking at $350 plus. I don't know many people that would sell one for under $200 or $300. All that to say, I don't know if I would buy an Indian. Although, they do have my attention. They do have my attention in the fact that they are building cool bikes. They've got 111 horsepower for the 101 with inverted forks, 6-speed transmission, the smart display, the Ride Command, which is freaking awesome. I think that's awesome. But I think Harley Davidson has lost sight of who their company is and what we are as the consumer. And they stopped worrying about the consumer and started moving things overseas, which they promised they wouldn't do. And so we can run down this rabbit hole. But I think Indian is onto something, and I don't know what the future holds. Nobody does. If it did, I'd have the winning lottery numbers, and I would be in a much different bar that I would be running with it full of people. But I have a garage full of motorcycles, for that matter. But India's doing some things really, really well that I think Harley Davidson should take a few cues from. That's my 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, 20 minutes worth of sense. Anyway, that's what it comes down to. I think Harley's doing some stupid things, making bad decisions, and I wish that they would listen to the people. I wish they would just hire some regular people, because that guy was making $43 million a year. I think he's taken a huge pay cut because of their sales, and he's only making $10 or $20 million now. Again, millions of dollars. I know people that would do your job for $100,000 a year and love it. I would. Call me. I'd love to help. I'd love to point you in the direction of some guys that eat, sleep, and breathe Harley Davidsons that are in their 30s and 40s, even guys in their 50s that would have better information and have better ideas than probably most of the people that are on staff with you. They make some cool riding gear, and they've got some cool accessories now, but you guys have forgotten about the motorcycles and the consumers that ride them. Indian, thank you for being cool and doing some rad stuff. I'm going to get a little bit more invested in the Indian brand. I'm probably going to go down and ride one of these new 101s. I'd love to get my hands on one and take it for a rip. I've heard good things. I hope 1 million people see this YouTube channel. I hope 1 million people watch this video and drop their comments below and say, you're an idiot, you're a whatever, or I think you're right, I wish they would do this. But, you know, with a little bit of respect, drop a comment below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this new version of my channel called Zero Status. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell button so you get a notification anytime I upload new content. Also, down below, there is a link for my store, which is all Zero Status brand. It does have my basement bar stuff still on there, which I will probably keep for quite a while. I do really, really like my basement. I do love my basement bar dude shirts and hoodies and stuff, but there's a link below for that. Indian, if you want to reach out and send me some more information on your bikes, I'd love to come check out. There's a local dealership to me, which I probably should go down and check out as well. I'm really interested in these bikes. I love my Street Bob. Love my Street Bob. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Harley Davidson, please do better. I love the brand. I've got a tattoo. I've got a Buell tattoo, for crying out loud. I've got it embedded in my skin after I went to MMI. I love the company. I'm wearing my Harley hat. I love the brand. I want you guys to do great things. I only wish good things for Harley Davidson. I just wish that they would lean on their dealers and their consumers to the direction they need to go. Indian, thanks again for making rad bikes. I'm loving the new 101. I loved all the other bikes that you guys have kind of come out with. I almost bought an Indian actually before I looked at my Street Bob, but it was a little bit too more upright sitting for me, which I think was it's the FTR, I think is the name of the bike. I may have said that wrong, but you guys are crushing it. Keep up the good work. Thank you for being an American motorcycle brand in America, and thank you for doubling down on it's okay to be American and be an American motorcycle and ride American motorcycles. So anyway, cheers, my crummy beer. Until the next one, see you guys next time. It's disgusting. I don't know who did that. It's awful. Dear Bush, send me a bunch of Bush Lights so I can drink them here on my channel for free. Hey, look, it's crazy. I also really dig this guy. He bought one of the new Sportsters, not the S. He bought one of the new Sportsters. And he says it's very much like the old FXRs, which he's really digging. And he's done some crazy stuff to it. You should follow, I think his name is Cruzy with a K. His logo is rad with a helmet with bunny ears. Anyway, you guys have a good night.